3 years ago, I unfollowed and unsubscribed from everyone I followed on social media. From YouTube to Instagram to Twitter to TikTok, I unfollowed friends, family, and the filmmaking community. In this video, I'm going to share why I made that decision, how it has impacted my life and work as a freelance documentary filmmaker, and why you should consider doing the same, even if that means smashing that unsubscribe button here on my own channel. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you are new here, my name is Austin Meyer. I'm a National Geographic Explorer, documentary filmmaker, and if you weren't a subscriber before, something tells me that this video probably won't be the one that convinces you to become one. So the other week, I made a video about my strategy for investing in gear as an independent filmmaker. And in that video, while talking about the constant barrage of gear releases and selling here on YouTube, I mentioned that one way I avoid that influence and FOMO is that I don't follow anyone across social media. And so I just receive less of it. And in response to that video, I got a great comment from Main Mountain Media. Shout out Main Mountain Media, who said, "Curious how you feel about asking or expecting others to support your channel by subscribing when you yourself said you refuse to support other channels by following and subscribing. Following zero seems extreme and might do more harm than good." Well, it's a great question, and one that I thought would make a good topic for a full video because this is something I think a lot about. And by something, I mean how each of us, both you and me, reach our creative potential. And to that end, what outside forces do we choose to let in or keep out that might influence what and how we create? So let's dive into it. Firstly, let's start with the why I unfollowed everyone on social media. There are really three main reasons. The first is that social media makes it more difficult for me to hear my unique creative voice. What do I mean by that? Well, back in 2018, I received a grant from National Geographic, became a part of the Nat Geo Explorer community, and suddenly found myself attending events alongside some of the biggest names in the world of documentary film and photography. We're talking the Jimmy Chins of the world, the Paul Nicklins, the Amy Vitalis. I remember being at my first Nat Geo Storytelling Summit. I was this starry-eyed, freckle-faced, early career filmmaker just trying to soak up some wisdom and learn from all the experience in the room. But at the same time, I was also fucking competitive. So when I saw them talking about their magazine cover stories or Oscar-winning docs, I was both vigorously taking notes, but at the same time thinking to myself, bring it on, I can top that. Just give me some time. So I started to play on the same playground as all of those folks. And where does Nat Geo and their visual storytellers' work get seen the most? Instagram. So I went over to Instagram and started following all the accounts of Nat Geo's biggest stars. Keith Ladzinski, subscribe. Lindsay Addario, subscribe. Hannah Morales, subscribe. Renan Ozturk, subscribe. I looked at all of their images, all their videos, I studied them, and then I went out and tried to create the same kind of work that they were making. The closer I got to something that felt like one of their images, the more I celebrated. After all, I figured if I want to be a Nat Geo star, just do what the Nat Geo stars do, right? Well, no. Because eventually, after a while of doing this, I stepped back to look at my perfectly manicured Instagram grid and realized that the grid I was seeing in front of me didn't reflect who I am at all. It was so bland and generic. It was so pretty for pretty's sake, like cheap screensavers detached from any story or meaning. And it hit me at that moment how lifeless my work was because it wasn't me. There wasn't anything about animal rights, nothing about ultra running. There wasn't anything about improv or fun videos with my friends. Nothing that helped other people tell stories. The things that make me me were nowhere in what I was creating. And that just felt really shitty. So eventually I said, screw it. Let's go all in on me and who I am. And one of the first videos I posted after that was not of a beautiful sweeping landscape, an adventurous expedition, or human rights abuse far off in some foreign country. It was a video where I went onto the streets on Halloween night and interviewed little kids as if they were actually their Halloween costume characters. Where did the first baguette originate?
I don't know. I'm part of like the 74th generation of baguettes, so I have no idea, to be honest. Our baguette history books didn't teach us that, so, you know.
What age do you start going to baguette school? Can you tell me a little bit more about baguette school?
Usually it's like right when you're baked, you get put into baguette school, and you learn about how to be a delicious baguette there.
And do you feel like people should be eating baguettes plain, or do you advocate for people to put something on the baguette?
As far as that goes, I'd say I'd let anybody eat their baguette the way they would choose, because part of the baguette experience is choosing how you want to eat your baguette.
That baguette clip has racked up over 6 million views. It is probably the single most viewed piece of video I have ever made. I got comments from celebrities like Kevin Bacon, restaurant chains like Panera Bread, and NFL teams like the Detroit Lions. Netflix even invited me to the Macy's Day Parade in New York City to help them promote a movie starring Jason Momoa. And to this day, I don't think there is a single documentary project I've worked on that has yielded more positive feedback and probably more work opportunities than this little video I did interviewing little kids. The lesson here and the first why for unfollowing all those accounts is that when I see a constant stream of other people's work, it's very difficult for me to resist that influencing what I create. Instead, what happens is I both shift towards those I see as more successful than me, and I start to compete against them. I mean, it's funny, I became so fixated on photographing a story for Nat Geo magazine, and eventually I was like, wait, why do I give a shit about this? I don't even read Nat Geo magazine. So to get more clear on my own creative voice and to focus my competitive energy in a direction I actually wanted my life to go, I decided to unfollow. The second reason that I unfollowed everyone is that the addictive powers of social media outweigh my own willpower. If you're interested in diving into this topic more, check out the documentary The Social Dilemma or my interview with the film's director, Jeff Orlowski, which I will link to in the description. The gist of the film is that social media is an addictive drug with algorithms designed to keep users on the platform. Personally, I don't trust my own brain or willpower against those algorithms. And the more I thought about it, staying on these platforms is not in line with my ambitions. My ambitions are to create the best stories I can. And even if those stories are for social media or promoted on social media, the creation of them happens off platform. And I also started to realize that one of the greatest competitive advantages that any filmmaker or creative can develop in today's distracted world is the ability to consistently get into a state of creative flow or deep work. You know that feeling when you're working on a story and the time just flies by because you're so in the zone? Or maybe time doesn't fly by. Maybe you're just banging your head against a wall for hours trying to develop your idea or find an unlock to an element of story structure that's not working out. Either way, I believe that long periods of undistracted work are directly proportional to the quality of creative output. When I talk about unfollowing everyone, a common response I'll hear is someone saying that I'm gonna miss out on exposure to new people and ideas or inspiration. But here's the thing, for the most part, this is not how high-level creative work is accomplished. It's not a lack of input that stymies creative breakthroughs. What does stand in the way of creative breakthroughs is a lack of time spent quietly with our own thoughts, working and reworking our understanding of a story in search of new layers of meaning. This is hard, deep work, and unfollowing was one way that I knew I could spend more time right here. The third reason I want to mention has to do with why I unsubscribed and unfollowed rather than deleting altogether. The reason for this is because I do believe in the power of social media. If I want to reach an audience with my stories, build my business, raise money for a nonprofit, educate people about farmed animal issues, help people like you learn about filmmaking, I need people's attention. And where is everyone's attention? Social media. That's why I didn't want to delete it. But I did want to go from compulsive use to controlled use. I wanted to use social media on my own terms instead of being used by it. So I decided to use social media purely as a publishing platform. And so I stripped away the most powerful parts of the app that kept me coming back time and time again as a consumer throughout the day: the people I followed. Now, some social apps don't even care if you follow somebody. The TikTokification of social has changed that. So TikTok is off of my phone unless I need to post. Same with Twitter. But if I open Instagram, look, I just see my latest post. And that's not very interesting. Eventually, the app loses some of its power. So that is the why behind unfollowing and unsubscribing. But in practice, how has it impacted my life and business as a freelance documentary filmmaker? I'd say very positively. I would say that for the most part, all of the whys have translated into real life impacts. I compare my work to others a lot less because I just don't see people's work as much. I'm not getting lured into being competitive about things I don't care about, again, because I don't see those people or their work. And I'm creating better habits around unbroken blocks of focused attention. And that's one of the ways that I've been able to release a video on this channel every week for the past 50 weeks, while still working as a full-time freelance filmmaker. Now, of course, I'm not perfect with social media boundaries, but this has really helped me to define and hone in on my strategy. Instead of following the crowd, I've leaned into long-form educational videos on YouTube as a creator in the social media landscape. Then I create short-form elements off of these. Occasionally, I will also create standalone short-form vertical video when I want to reach a different audience, create collaboration posts, or stay connected to the patterns and algorithms of specific platforms. Which brings me to Main Mountain Media's question about why I ask people to subscribe to this channel if I don't subscribe to others. And again, it's a great question, and what I think that is important to address so you all know exactly what I'm doing here on YouTube. My goal isn't to chase numbers or keep people glued to screens. It's to inspire and educate those who want to become better documentary filmmakers. I would consider this channel a failure if I had hundreds of thousands of subscribers who watched every second of my videos, but who never took action to create something of their own. The whole point of my channel is to equip you with the knowledge and confidence to step away from platforms like YouTube and Instagram and start making your films. As I've mentioned, I've found that following others on social media can be addictive and can cloud my artistic vision. I create more and create more authentically when I tune out the noise. If you're watching right now and you feel the same way, I encourage you to try this approach. Unsubscribe from me and everyone else who you feel might be distracting you from realizing your creative potential. My content is here to support you when you're ready to learn, when you need a bit of advice, when you have questions, or need a spark of motivation. But my ultimate hope is that you'll spend more time making films than watching me. All right, that's it. I'm not gonna put an end screen video here for you to click to because I want you to log off. Go out and tell some stories.